Yes, one of my favourite type of habitats. I was looking forward to this. And we open up with a lovely scene with some baby pterosaurs that have hatched from their eggs, because we know that they had soft-shelled eggs like turtles. So around rivers and stuff like that is a perfect place for them. And even better, they laid their eggs on an island in the middle of this swamp, so that prevents predators from getting to your eggs and stealing them. So we see these babies hatch, and then they have to take their first flight.
Yes, quite a daunting experience.
Yes,
You see the river and the opening of the swamp with the water, and it's quite an eerie. I could just tell something was off.
Something's waiting.
Something was waiting.
We
were waiting to fly. And I just had this horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach, thinking that something was going to happen, and I was right.
Yes, because they're obviously not. This is their first flight. They're having to practice. So some of them aren't very good flyers, and
one
straight
falls
away
in the water.
Falls into the water, and then bang! This huge crocodile comes up and snatches one from the surface.
That's it. I think they're called Shamosuchus.
Yeah.
And it's this prehistoric crocodile that just bang has got the baby pterosaur. Again, it's the babies dying.
Yeah,
the
it's
poor
always
things.
the babies.
But I thought it was really good how some were, going across, some were making it, some were falling in, and some even were just above the surface, and they were
jumping up and actually catching them.
Shamosuchus jumps up and grabbed them. So it was.
Do you know, this reminds me of bats. There's a certain crocodile that actually hunts bats. There's these bats that come down. I think they're fisherman bats. They actually hunt fish, and crocodiles. The type of I can't remember what type of crocodile it is, but it's the one with the thin snout,
and then
like a ball at the end of the nose.
Yes, I know the one you mean.
And these ones jump up and catch the bats, and it reminded me of this very much. Hunting the pterosaurs.
Wow!
And just at the end, when you see that one, that's just you think it's got away, and you're like, oh. The rest have been eaten, but this one has managed to escape, and then bang, one jumps up, knocks it into the water, and then it's just trying to get away, and it's building the tension up, it's trying to run off, and the crocodile comes out on the land to try and catch it, and it just manages to get away.
Thank God.
But no, I thought it was a really good scene, a very good opening scene. I rather enjoyed it.
I did as well. I thought it was very good. And then we meet this big fish, the garfish.
Yes.
And it's swimming about, and I was just getting interested in it, and I thought, oh, what's this garfish? And then suddenly, again, bang!
Yes. They're good with the jump scares, though.
They're very good with the jump scares, yeah. It was the Ostroraptor has just plunged in and fished this garfish out of the water and has eaten it. Yes. And then there's a scene with the Ostroraptors fishing, and it's showing that they're basically fighting for the best fishing spots. And there's a juvenile one, isn't it? And he's trying to get a good spot, and he's on a log at one point trying to reach in. But he's then looking for the scraps essentially from the older dinosaurs who are quite wasteful with the food.
Yeah, because there's so much food going that they'd eat the best bits and leave the scraps, so the less dominant dinosaurs can come in and pick the scraps up that the adults have left. But it reminded me of grizzly bears. Grizzly bears just all waiting for salmon to come up, and they're all just sat there waiting to catch the food. And also a raptor as well. It's a species of raptor that's actually evolved to eating fish. And I've never heard of this dinosaur. Another dinosaur I've never heard of before.
Yeah, when you say raptor, great. You kind of think of just the vicious meat eating, and you don't expect it to be like quite evolved to be
Well, you saw
fishing.
Its claw. Its claw didn't look as sharp. It still had a claw that was sticking up on its toe, but it didn't look as curved as a velociraptor's. And you could see the snout as well of this animal was very pointed.
And the sharp needle-like teeth.
Yeah, evolving to catch fish. So you can see their evolution. It's obviously living in a swamp, so it's adapted to live off a diet of fish. So, yeah, it's very good to see another dinosaur as well that's not very, very well known or very popular, introducing us to new creatures.
I agree.
Exist.
I think in the whole season, It's been very good at introducing new ones. There's been loads I've never heard of before, so that was really good. And then we meet one of the favourite. Well, it's not even a dinosaur. It's a frog, or the devil,
yes.
the devil toad, Beelzebufo.
Beelzebufo.
And when he came on the screen, I couldn't help but smile when I saw him.
His hand, didn't you? You saw his hand, and you could just tell it was that of a frog. And he was like, here he is. He's come to steal the show.
Yeah, and he had his own scene this time, which was essentially around him trying to find a mate.
Yeah.
And I really liked the scene where he was sat in this pool, and he begins to do this deep croak and vibrating in the water. And I thought that was very. You could just imagine that in real life.
Yeah.
That's probably something what it would do.
That croak would be. It's such a big frog. It would, it would be a very deep croak.
You definitely
hear
hear
like
it.
The croaks that you hear off frogs today. Reminded me a bit of an alligator. An alligator's rumbling. Its
and just the bubbles
back.
from its snout.
Yeah,
everything,
and you just see everything, the water vibrating. The way he just sat there, and that shot where you see the water vibrating around. I thought, oh, that's a really good shot. That I like that.
Yeah.
But then he was disturbed.
Yes, he was disturbed by the sauropods looking for a mud bath. And they started rolling round, and they almost squashed him. So I was scared that he was going to get squashed, because if one of them sat on him, that'd be over for him.
But I like that, how they're actually having a mud bath to cool off and possibly protect themselves from the sun. But then there was a very strange scene, and I'm not sure how I feel about this clip. The frog doing a forward roll.
Yes, he kind of stumbles over and awkwardly flops over.
I don't think I've ever seen a frog do a forward roll, and I remember just looking at you and thinking, what? Why the hell is it doing a forward roll? Why isn't it just hopping like a normal frog? I don't know about that.
It was quite clumsy in its movement in that shot. I'm not sure if it would be like that. I think it'd be more clever or just like hop. I mean, it's quite a big frog, so if it wants to make quite a bit of a distance, I'm sure it could hop. In a certain way.
Unless that's a better way for it to get around. Just roll, because it did look like quite fat and round. Maybe it just rolled down there.
Maybe it did. Who knows?
Yeah, it just looked bizarre. And then when the sauropod looked at it, and it just hissed like, back off.
But that's very similar to the Majungasaurus and the small herbivorous crocodile relative. It's again a smaller animal. Taking on a bigger animal, which we do see in real life. So it's
weird, isn't it? It's like geese. Look at geese. Geese will they'll hiss at you. It doesn't matter how big you are. They're like, back off. And you think, okay, why are you so confident?
Exactly, that's it. Sometimes it's all the confidence, and Beelzebufo has got plenty of it.
And it was good to see a bit more screen time for him, rather than just eating a dinosaur, actually seeing his life and a bit more into the life of this giant prehistoric frog. So it was good. I like that scene.
And the next is the Pachycephalosaurus. And this is the scene where there's a few of them. There's a herd, actually, so it's a full herd, and it's led by a male. And one of the younger males is being a bit boisterous, he's a bit rowdy, he's causing problems in the herd, which leads to a standoff between the two, and a fight. And they're locking heads, they're butting there, because they have a huge round crest on the top of the skull.
10 inches thick, I think.
10 inches thick.
Which is brilliant for absorbing the impact of hitting each other. It made me laugh at the end when they started talking about the scientific information, saying, "Oh, we found these big heads, the thick skulls. They must have butted heads." And then they went, "Oh, but then later on we changed our mind. New evidence came to light. They're not actually that strong after all." And then later on they found dints in the skull and said, "Oh, yes, actually they were butting heads." I think sometimes you just have to look at something and just think, what's the most common sense for this to be for? And I think it stands out a mile. They're obviously butting heads. Why would they have a 10-inch skull? Just for there's no point wasting all that time making a skull that thick. It's just a waste of resources if you're not going to actually use it for something.
Exactly. It shows how the science is always changing as well. We think we know what the answer is right now, but in the next 5, next 10 years, next 20 years, it's always changing. The science is always new and fresh. There's fresh discoveries happening every single day. So it's a perfect example of how things, theories change, and there'll be tons of new theories about dinosaurs, that we're talking about now, and we think we know what we're talking about, and then in the next 5-10 years, we'll actually be thinking, oh my God, I can't believe we thought that. It's actually this.
Yeah.
So
it'd be interesting to see how much this documentary will actually, you'll look back
stand
and
the
think,
test of time.
That actually isn't correct anymore. In fact, I'd love to see what a Spinosaurus looks like in 10, 20 years.
Well, that's the classic, isn't it?
Always changing.
Nobody knows.
Yeah. But I didn't understand why that part of the episode was in the swamp episode. Because they were in like a scrubland, wasn't that? Was it because there was a drought or something? I can't remember.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, I think it was like there was a drought in this scrubland, so I think it was a swamp, but it was a different time of the season.
As it was happening, I thought, this isn't a swamp. Why are we here? What's going on? But no, but it was interesting to see them. The classic headbutting was a great scene to watch. Battering each other with these huge round heads. And then the younger male actually beats the elder male at one point. Stands there and thinks, I've won. And then, bang.
I thought he'd won at first. And then I thought, they've actually made the younger male win. But then
the older
male pushed him over
down
and sends him into exile.
Yeah.
Which,
good luck with that.
That's a cruel fate. It's a dinosaur going out on his own.
You won't last long on your own if you're not with a...
If larger predators come and try and get you, you pretty much, your fate doesn't look good.
No, it certainly does not.
So this scene was followed by a really good scene.
Here we go.
So...
the best scene, possibly, of the entire...
I agree. Yes, it's definitely a contender. So we're introduced to a herd of Edmontosaurus. Yeah. They're in, like a forest area of the swamp. Mm-hmm. They're grazing.
Triceratops walking around. I love that scene because it shows the classic. You see North America with Triceratops grazing. These huge Edmontosauruses, and then we see these two Tyrannosaurus Rex just peering at the herd, just watching from the... it's brilliant to see them. It reminded me of lions just weighing up a herd. They're watching and thinking, is there any weakness here that we can take advantage of? But they obviously decide to wait.
I love how they just stood there.
Darkness.
Yeah, because they knew they weren't hunting then. So they were just stood there confidently, weighing things
up.
Aren't they?
Just weighing things
and then, like you said, they choose to wait till nightfall, where the odds are in their favour, because it mentions in the documentary that their eyes, rival. We know that they rival, modern birds of prey. The very large eyes, the night vision's very good.
The largest eyes of any dinosaur. So these are massive eyes, so they would have let in a lot of light, so they would have been able to see very well at night time. It's quite scary to think about. Not only has it got eyes that face forward, so that it's actually got binocular vision and it can actually see, distance and depth, but it can even see in the dark. Yeah. This scene actually made T-Rex a lot more scarier than you can think of. And when you think, people say, accurate dinosaurs aren't scary, and you think, well, in Jurassic Park, if you just stay still, the T-Rex won't be able to see you, you know what I mean? In this, the T-Rex, a real-life Tyrannosaurus Rex can see you. It can see you clear as day. Even in the darkness, it can see. And if it can't see you, it can certainly smell you, because it has a fantastic sense of smell as well.
Exactly. And I love how both of these T-Rexes made a plan.
Yeah.
They didn't just run in and try and kill the first thing they saw.
Run in, raw, I'm here. Give away my position.
It was cold. It was calculated. It was coordinated, and it was just eerie. It was almost like a horror film watching it. You could see the T-Rex going through the woods, and then the other one was going around the other side, and they were basically flanking the Edmontosaurus and waiting to see one, who was weak, and then one makes a noise on purpose.
I thought that was interesting. The fact that they actually deliberately made a noise to make the herd nervous that there was prey over here, and it takes their attention away from the other Tyrannosaurus Rex that's waiting on the other side. Now, I thought that was really good. But what I found quite hard to believe when they said they can walk through the forest almost silently because of cushioned pads on their feet. But I thought, if I try and walk through the forest silently, I think I'd make a noise from all the leaves and the twigs on the floor. So I don't know if it would be...
I think it would be possibly quiet for a dinosaur, as quiet as it could be.
Maybe.
Like you say, these dinosaurs weigh, numerous tons. So how quiet can you be, with each step being a couple of tons, in each step?
Yeah.
It's, unless they were really, really cushioned pads. But like I say, if the twigs, if there's anything there, something's going to give. But, as silent as they can be, and they're clearly good, hunters and predators, because we can see, the teeth markings in skeletons and stuff. So they clearly were good enough hunters to grab hold and kill, these animals.
Yeah, but it was great, that build up. My only thing is, if it was just a little bit longer, I think, to build up that tension, just an extra couple of seconds, or a few more minutes, just to build it up, and then when it pounced out, and I thought this was really good as well, because the one that made the noise charged out, made them all run, and the other T-Rex is just waiting in ambush, waiting for the prey to come down to it. And when that one Edmontosaurus runs over, the T-Rex runs out, grabs it by the neck. And what I think was good as well is the Edmontosaurus didn't just go down straight away. It actually took a bit of, it took two of them to bring it down. Because you think about it, an Edmontosaurus is a big, if not bigger, than a T-Rex.
Yeah,
an Edmontosaurus is a big animal.
It's not an easy prey to take down. It's Edmontosaurus are big animals as well. It's it could easily take on a T-Rex and defend itself.
Yeah.
And that's why there's two T-Rexes clearly hunting together. I thought that was interesting, because you usually think of T-Rex just hunting on its own.
Yeah.
You don't think of it hunting in packs, but the fact there was just two of them, sticking together, and that may well have happened because, like you say, some of these herbivores were really dangerous and would put up an equal fight. So maybe going in with two of you, two T-Rexes, it puts the odds back in their favour. To be able to catch the prey and actually kill it and eat it.
I do wonder if it was a male and a female, like a mating pair, because one of them looked like the pointy head crest, the bit above the eyes. One looked more pointy and larger than the other one. So I was thinking, is that the male? And the other one's the female. And in the first one, we see the male is actually swimming across with his chicks. So it makes you think, are they interpreting that, male and female would have both mated and looked after their chicks, like you just see with modern day birds.
Or they could be potential brothers, maybe, from a clutch that have stayed together.
Yeah, possibly.
I've got to think about it. I'm not sure, because I know I was looking through the music track, and I'm sure one is called T-Rex Brothers, and I'm not sure if that's a bit of a giveaway. I don't remember hearing it.
Saying
T-Rex
in Prehistoric
Brothers.
Planet?
Yeah, I'm sure I've seen that. I might be completely imagining that, but I'm sure in the music track it's called T-Rex Brothers or something. I'm not sure if it was mentioned in the actual episode. I can't remember. But like I say, either or, they're clearly companions that are stuck together.
Could be siblings that are working together from the same clutch. That's an interesting point. Yeah. But I did love that scene.
It was an epic scene.
It was good to see
really
T-Rex actually hunting, because we didn't actually see him hunt in the first season. So this is one thing that
we were craving a T-Rex hunt, and I think just the tension, the build-up, and I think it was executed very well. I thought it was good, and like we were mentioning before with the lack of violence, I think it was just enough. I think we didn't really go all guns blazing with the violence, but I think it was just enough for the scene to be executed very well. And I thought he was very, very good.
Yeah, it was.
So that
Fantastic.
is the swamp. So, like you said, one of probably my favourite episodes as well. So let's move on to episode 4, which is oceans.